Hey everybody, welcome to Horror Face Off. I'm your host, Jason, and today we're going back to the 90s. It will be The Faculty. Versus Urban Legend. On this episode, we have from Kings of Horror, Patrick, co-host of Podlonia Podcast, Sunny, horror fan, Tony, author and actress, Lilith, horror fan, John. They join the Horror Face-Off slasher, Leighanne, and me, your host, Jason.
Hey everybody, welcome to Horror Face-Off. It's a 90s vibe show today. We have The Faculty versus Urban Legend. So this is kind of I always kind of think of these as modern films, but they're clearly not anymore. But anyways, that kind of dates me. So let's just go over a little bit of the rules of the show.
We take two horror films and match them up against each other. Using specific categories, the show's fearless panelists dissect every bone-chilling detail. In the end, the film that has the most category points wins Horror Face-Off. But the panel needs to think fast, for they only have a limited time to make their case. If they take too long, they will be killed.
The vindictive vixen herself will get ya, Leighanne. Hi, Leighanne.
Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm ready to kill some kids.
All right, and so then let's get to it. Let's start killing some kids. So we're going to start off with what we always start off with, plot, and we're going to start off with Sunny. You're up.
For plot, I picked Urban Legend. The Faculty is amazing. It's a nice update on body snatchers, so it's fun and interesting to watch, but Urban Legend is a more original idea, I think, and I was always just really obsessed with urban legends in general as a kid, so that really seals the deal for me.
Cool. Moving along to John.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth on this. I'm going to go with The Faculty. It is just an update of kind of your sci-fi body snatcher movie, but I think that twists and turns a little bit in some unexpected ways, and I won't spoil completely, with basically with who the villain is and kind of how the whole system works and how it affects everyone's lives. And Urban Legends is great, but it's still, to me, in terms of plot, it's just a slasher movie, and there's nothing particularly interesting about it to me.
All right, we could spoil movies that are 30 years or older. It's allowed on this show. All right, Lilith, you're up.
I think The Faculty had a better plot because no one's going to suspect an alien invasion. There's no dead bodies because the people are transformed but still living. And they have a whole hive mind mentality thing. So you have everyone working together to keep things quiet. But when it comes to Urban Legends, although it's a really fun movie, and I love the concept of a serial killer duplicating urban legends, it's a lot less believable because even as inept as police are, there'll be a lot more effort put into finding missing people.
All right. Tony, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be back. Well, yeah, for me, Urban Legend I thought was, I like the concept of a Gothic style school and, people getting killed, obviously. But I have to say The Faculty for me is a movie I can watch over and over again. I heard reference to Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So it's like The Body Snatchers meets Breakfast Club. Fantastic. Plus it has Elijah Wood, who's awesome. And so I'm going to go with The Faculty.
Love for Elijah. All right. Patrick, you're up.
Yeah, I got to give it to The Faculty on this one. Urban Legend is solid. It's a nice twist on Urban Legends, but I believe the uniqueness of The Faculty, because lots of times Urban Legend gets lumped into I Know What You Did Last Summer and that kind of late 90s run of films. So I think just it being a fish out of water is beneficial to the faculty. So I'm gonna go faculty for this category.
All right. Okay, so that's the end of round one. Everybody's got the feel of it, except for maybe Leighanne, who got shut out this round. I'm sorry, Leighanne.
It's okay. There's a lot more to go. A lot
All
more
right.
death.
All right, cool. So we move on to setting, and for this one, we'll start off with Lilith.
I think the faculty had a better setting because the students were pretty much trapped. People are less likely to believe teenagers when they say something's going on. Teenagers can't just pick their stuff up and leave town whenever things get weird. Whereas in urban legends, like they're in their 20s, they can drive away, they can go to another school.
All right, done. Sunny, you're up.
I think the fact that they're both set in a school doesn't make it too different, but urban legend, I think that the campus at the college is just absolutely gorgeous. So urban legend, yeah, it's more visually interesting to me.
Okay, Patrick.
Oh man, this is pretty neck and neck for me. I got to give it to the faculty though. I think the previous point that was made about you're kind of trapped there, you're kind of confined there due to age and everything, and you see lots of various aspects of a high school campus: football field, the buses, the parking lot. It's little things, but it makes it a lot more believable as well, a lot more realistic. Not everyone can see an awesome Gothic setting, so I got to go with the faculty for setting for those reasons.
All right. And bringing up the end of the round is Tony.
Right. So, urban legend. Again, for anyone who grew up in the Toronto area, it's like the University of Toronto campus, right? So it's something that kind of you're familiar with, and again, it has that Gothic kind of creepy vibe as well, which all schools do, I guess, to a point. But it just seemed like it was a little bit more kind of Ivy League, type of vibe, whereas the faculty was more really gritty American high school. It kind of reminded me of Degrassi Junior High, if you guys ever watched that, where it's a little bit more raw and
Kill!
Again.
Oh, Tony's killed. You made Leighanne doubly happy there. Obviously the kill,
Fresh
but why
blood.
else, Leighanne?
Fresh blood. I always love some fresh blood.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go for the show he just mentioned, Degrassi.
I do like Degrassi though. But Jason, I'm gonna kill you. Every
No,
time
no,
you
no, no,
forget
don't.
Someone.
I know,
Every time
John.
You forget someone.
John. I didn't forget John. Give me a second. All right, John, you're bringing up the end of the round.
So yeah, for setting, I went with the faculty, just because the setting plays more into the character types. This is very much about a sort of stereotyped high school experience at the beginning that kind of gets turned on its head, and so the setting plays into that, I think, more than it does in Urban Legend, where I think the setting is in Urban Legend is just more set pieces, but it really does feel like one of those high school obsessed, or those football obsessed high schools in the middle of nowhere where all they care about is high school football and that sort of hierarchy that you need for the faculty to work. So the setting works for me that way, not necessarily the design.
All right. I like how Leighanne's thinking on her toes. She's finding ways to kill me now, and that's good. I do deserve it if I do forget someone, but I did not this time. I did remember halfway through Tony's rant. So we move on to filmmaking, and once again, I'll mention what filmmaking is, and it's all encompassing of cinematography, music, and all the other good stuff. So with that being said, just so I don't forget him, let's start with John.
Yeah, this one was actually tougher than I thought it would be, because I kind of thought it'd be easy to pick the faculties because Robert Rodriguez is such a stylish creator, but Urban Legend's really well done, and they really well shot what could have been a pretty cheap leaping movie. I'm still going to give it to the faculty because I do think Rodriguez brings so much style to what he does, and the score is great, and it kind of has that a real sort of high school movie on steroids vibe to it. But Urban Legend is a really well-made movie at a time when it probably could have been made much more cheaply looking and done the same way, done just as well.
All right. Lilith, you're up.
This one would go to urban legends for me, just because I absolutely loved watching the creative deaths, especially Joshua Jackson hanging from the tree above the car. I mean, it had a lot more of a horror movie feel to it, where the faculty was definitely more for teenagers.
All right. Tony.
So urban legend, again, that kind of creepy shadows, jump scare type of vibe, and I think Jamie Blanks did a good job that teaches us sometimes that the most frightening monsters are the ones that are in plain sight. Robert Rodriguez is the faculty was really kind of really out there, right? So it's not something that you think that would an alien invasion. It's like kind of the ultimate extracurricular activity, right? The homework never looks so terrifying. So I think in this case, I'd pick urban legend just because I like the kind of dark shadow.
Thank God we brought Tony on, Leighanne?
I'm here for it.
Yep. Well said. Well said, though. All right, Sonny, you're up.
I'm going to go with the faculty. I think that the creature effects are really cool. The small amount of blood that we get is really good. I also am a big fan of Robert Rodriguez's style. I think that the soundtrack is amazing. The faculty.
All right. Patrick.
Just back and forth on this. I got to go with the faculty. And I was almost going to go with urban legend because I felt like the CGI, some of the CGI in the faculty doesn't really hold up as well. But as a Alice in Chains fan, the fact that there's an amazing cover of Another Brick in the Wall by Class of '99, I got to give it to the faculty for that reason alone, because it's an amazing cover. And yeah, I too am a fan of Robert's filmmaking and his shots, so I got to go with the faculty for that.
Must have been close, Leighanne.
1 second.
I see you here. I saw you. You kind of dropped, defeated, and all right, we'll see. All right, so we move on to the next round, right, Leighanne?
I think so.
Okay, so we move on to the next round, which is characters. So a little bit of an offshoot of what's been said already. We'll see what happens. We'll start off with Sonny.
I'm going with the faculty. I think that Urban Legend boasts a lot of really great character actors in side parts. You have Brad Dourif briefly, Robert Englund, Danielle Harris is there. But first of all, I'm in love with Stokely. But a lot of the characters in the faculty just sort of felt like my friends that I hung out with in high school. So they feel familiar and comforting to get through the whole story with. Whereas the characters in Urban Legend felt sort of cold and prissy to me most of the time. Yeah, so the faculty.
The faculty. All right. Lilith.
It's kind of mixed for me. I mean, the faculty went all in with the 90s stereotypes, like the jock who wanted more out of life, the popular mean girl who's secretly a little deep, the bullied possible lesbian that's not really gay, the outcast that, of course, gets the girl, the rebel who sold drugs. I mean, they went all out with that, but the teacher-student flirtations were a little bit creepy. But other than that, I love it more.
All right. All right, Patrick.
Okay. So I think I got to give it to the faculty. I was really close to giving it to Urban Legend because I do think there's some really strong supporting characters in that. But I think overall, looking at it for the main cast, which main cast do I most relate with? Which main cast doesn't get on my nerves as much? And I think that goes to the faculty. Large part with the actors that are in those roles, but I think I think the faculty just wins by like an inch or two, maybe. So,
which is it, Patrick? An inch or two? Sorry,
3.
All right, John.
Yeah, I went with Urban Legend on this one too. I agree. The kids are a little bit more. I don't want to say realistic, but the interactions feel a little more natural. The faculty's intentionally kind of dealing in stereotypes, and I don't think they really get beyond that until the very, very end. But I do think that there's kind of a murderer's row of cool actors as the teachers in the faculty. But the urban legend does have some cool cameos from the non-kid actors too. But yeah, I think the urban legend characters, kind of the nature of it, they're a little bit more interactive and kind of relatable, even though Joshua Jackson's character is kind of a pill.
All right. Tony.
Yeah, for urban legend, I like the fact that they had some decent characters. Robert Englund, Professor Wexler was awesome, and he's good in anything he's in. But I'll have to give this to the faculty, just because I guess Mia, how you feel about Tara Reid, that's how I feel about Elijah Wood. And I thought Casey Connor was an awesome character. It felt so bad for him when he got, he kept on getting bullied. And he suffered a lot of pain throughout that. But, he helped defeat the alien. Spoiler. So I'll go with the faculty on this one.
All right. So everybody went, right? I can't believe with the faculty, when you look back on it, like the names that were in that on the faculty. Like it was because I hadn't seen it in a long time, and but when I watched it, like because I saw it in the theater and then I saw it relatively a while ago, I guess now, but it was a big gap in between, and I couldn't believe how many people were that I completely forgot about, and at the end of it, I was most impressed with Kruger from Seinfeld, but anyways, that's my. That's me and Seinfeld. Anyways, yeah, no, I couldn't believe that. I thought it was real cool. Anyways, and urban legends. Again, same thing, right? But I was a little bit more familiar with that one. All right, so we'll move on to kills, and for this one, we will start off with Patrick.
So one kill is one that I think will take it all away for all other kills. Pop rocks and bathroom cleaner is such a memorable kill to me. Growing up in the 90s, you heard of like mixing pop rocks and soda and stuff and things like that. I think it's a unique kill. The play on the very end there with you kind of get the glimpse of when they try to remove kidney.
Kill.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Sorry, Patrick. You look like you had a lot to say. You're like, I'm sorry. Lilith, you're up.
Urban legends, hand down. I mean, there wasn't really much kills in the faculty except for the old lady in the beginning and then the alien at the end. The others all come back, so they don't really count. But in urban legends, you finally get to see what all the deaths would actually look like from all the stories you grew up hearing.
All right. Tony.
Yeah. Backseat Boogeyman, Microwave Pet, the Pop Rocks, Decapitations. I have to give it to Urban Legend.
Short and sweet. John.
Yeah, Urban Legends is a slash movie that's built around cool kills. It kind of feels like they came up with the kills even before they came up with the characters and wrote the script. And the faculty's not that kind of movie, so yeah, Urban Legend wins this one, I think, pretty easily.
All right, Sunny.
Also going urban legend, because in the faculty almost everyone's just assimilated, and again, I was really obsessed with urban legends as a kid and like scary stories to tell in the dark books, and seeing all of that come to life was so great that as soon as you got to a kill scene, I'd be so excited during the lead up, like trying to figure out which urban legend it was. And urban legend, it's fun.
So we move on to the scare factor, and for this one, we will start off with Lilith.
Urban Legends was scarier as far as horror movies go because it had the kills, the dark settings, overall horror vibe compared to the sci-fi teen movie feel of the faculty. However, if this was happening in the real world and there's a serial killer on campus, you just switch schools. But the faculty, you're a teenager in a situation, you can't really escape. So I think that would be more scary in the real world.
All right. So you're going with faculty? All right. Great perspectives. All right. Tony, what's your perspective?
I like to have a medium approach here. So, so urban legend, there's jump scares, and the setting, as we mentioned before, had psychological twists and kind of paranoia associated with it, right? Like who's the killer, and it didn't have whereas the faculty is more of it had kind of a cool factor to it, which kind of takes away from the scare. There's a lot of cool kind of slow motion scenes that I like. When Josh Hartnett is like
Kill.
ripping chopper.
Nice.
So
I
I'll
need
go.
your answer though.
It was too cool to be scary. Like that.
Yeah. You can use that one.
Tony's the Eckhart Tolle of this show. All right, we will go on to Sunny.
The faculty. I don't base scary on how like spooky and jump scares and things like that. I think of myself in that situation, and the idea that you can't really trust anybody because anyone could have been assimilated, your parents, your friends, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and it might take you a minute to notice that they're not them anymore is just a horrifying concept. And yeah, serial killers are scary, but I don't, just the idea that you can't trust anyone is terrifying to me. The faculty.
All right, so we'll move on to John.
Yeah, I think Urban Legend is doing everything you expect in a scary movie, but I didn't think it was genuinely scary at all. The faculty, there's a lot of that tension where you have the two main characters who are the only ones who kind of know the truth, and it's kind of closing in on them the whole time. They get trapped in the closet, they get trapped in the nurse's office. So I like that vibe of everything closing in. I thought that was a pretty scary situation as it went on. Whereas Urban Legend, I get that it's doing horror movie stuff more, but I think in its own way, the faculty was actually a lot scarier.
All right, Patrick. I yelled at you last time, so I just wanted to apologize and let you. So you have the floor with scare factor.
You're all right. I agree with a lot of the comments that Urban Legend it plays on one of the horror tropes, but the idea and the fact in the faculty that you know something that's happening that other people are not going to believe you. That's a fearful thing, and the more it escalates, the more the less likely you are to be believed. So I think for that kind of dynamic and that kind of just onset is a terrifying feeling if you take that for your own well-being.
I don't care how fast you try and spit it out. Once I kill you, it kill you. Like
I know.
I love the frustration on his face, and I love ending a round with a kill. It just seems fitting, so that's awesome. So we move on to the next category, which is antagonist. For our Italian, we're big in Italy. It's antagonisto. So here we are. We're going to start off with John.
Yeah, I definitely gave this to the faculty. Not just the Deems. I didn't think the blonde girl was going to be the monster at the end. I thought that was a cool twist. I think in the post-Scream sort of slashers, the plot twists became less and less believable. And I think this kind of falls into the bat. I just don't think Rebecca Gayhart's just that physically dominant a person to be doing all the things she did as the killer. So I'll give it to the aliens and the big monster at the end and the naked chick running around.
All right, Lilith, you're up.
I give it to Urban Legends. I really love Brenda's character. She was likable as a friend, but iconic as a villain. And I can understand why she was so angry and give her props for lashing out in the most horrific creative ways. But for the faculty, I didn't really like Mary Beth. She went from being Little House on the Prairie type girl to walking around naked for whatever reason to becoming a CGI nightmare. All
right, Sunny.
I'm going to give it to Urban Legend, as cool as I think the aliens are and everything. I love a whodunit, and I think Rebecca Gayhart it's so camp. She goes completely insane and over the top, and I love her for it.
All right. Patrick.
I got to go faculty on this. much like John said, the scary alien naked chick at the end is more terrifying. And again, to continue with his points, I'll also agree with him in the sense that it's Brenda's a little bit. I think she could not physically do some of the stuff that was shown to be done. So yeah, I got to give it to Faculty in that regard. So.
But what does Tony say?
For the antagonisto, Urban Legend, I think you kind of get you get the reveal right at the end. It's like like they try to make too much of a twist out of it, I think. Whereas in the Faculty, it's like it's a bit broader, so it's not just one antagonist. It's like you get a whole bunch of different antagonists that are all all part of the same species, I guess, the aliens, right? And I love the fact that the alien knows English, right? It's it makes complete sense. So I have to give it to Faculty.
Everybody went right.
Yes.
So I'm going to say this:
Scared
Faculty.
now.
Sorry.
You're scared now.
I am. I'm rattled. I'm not gonna lie. Scare factor. So I'm not gonna lie. Faculty. I didn't see that in the theater. I didn't see that ending coming. I didn't see her being the killer or the alien. And I'm gonna again when I saw it again a second time, it got me again. I twice. Because it had been so long since I'd seen it, and it got me twice. And I'm like, when you look back on it now, like new girl, new scenario, and everything like that, should have clued in quicker. But it got me twice, and I'm man enough to say it. All right, so we are off to the special category for this episode. So I'm looking forward to this one because I really don't know on which side of the fence everybody's going to lie. But this is 90s vibe, and I think both do it well, but what the hell do I know? Let's go to the panel and find out. We'll start off with Lilith. You're up for this one.
I'm going to go with the Faculty because aside from the awesome soundtrack, it literally had every single cliche stereotype. There's also the fashion, the clothing, the hair, the way that everybody acts. I mean, it went on all in. It's definitely dated, but I still love dated.
Well, dated for this definitely works, right? So, all right, Sunny.
The Faculty. Nothing to me is more 90s than heartthrob Josh Hartnett and that stupid hairstyle he had in that movie. Everybody's clothes were great. Again, the soundtrack, yeah.
He had it in a few movies, so there's no excuse for that.
It's true.
Yeah.
All right. But he killed it in Oppenheimer, so all right. Patrick.
Man, this is tough. I'm gonna go against the grain and give it to Urban Legend because I think specifically Danielle Harris's character is a very stereotypical 90s goth chick, and you can argue with the same thing about the music and the clothing in Urban Legend, with it being 90s influenced styles in the music. But yeah, for Danielle's goth appearance, gotta give it to the Faculty. And I'm sorry, Urban Legend.
All right. Almost cost you a kill there by almost. All right, Tony Terror. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So whenever I think of Josh Hartnett, I always think of his 911 call. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's definitely worth a listen. Just can't look at them the same way. But if I had to go with a 90s vibe, I would have to say the Faculty, because it just had songs that are just like, I really like them, were really familiar to me, right? And it was said before, but that version of Another Brick in the Wall is fantastic, right? It's got the Offspring, Creed, like nothing screams more 90s than those bands. And Pink Floyd.
Well, I'd like to thank Tony for taking our audience and sending them now to Google to look up Josh Hartnett's 911 call. Thanks a lot, Tony. That's awesome. Great to have you back on the show. All right, John.
Yeah, I think I had to. It feels like the faculty, like they intentionally tried to make like the most ultimate '90s movie they could possibly make. The cast is top notch '90s folks. Rodriguez and Kevin Williamson were at their peak in the '90s. It felt like that was their goal, and they did it perfect. It looks almost like a '90s music video for 90 minutes. I did get a kick out of the bad attempt at the internet in Urban Legend. That was kind of sad to see how far behind that was, but the faculty for sure on this one.
All right. We're moving on, and we're getting there, people. We are on to movie poster, original movie poster. And for this one, we will start off with Sunny.
I don't have a lot to say about this one. I'm going to give it to the faculty just because I like that movie better, but I think that both posters are terrible, honestly. Nothing interesting going on either one.
All right. There's a lot of love for 90s horror films, but there's not a lot of love for their movie posters, I've noticed. And we got to accept it, people. It was a product of the time. Let's be accepting. All right. Lilith, you look like you're accepting.
I like the Urban Legends poster more because you get to see this unnamed killer as well as all the potential victims and the little eye thingy, kind of mystery. It sets the whole vibe. But the faculty was more about to kind of show off the hot young actors.
So you're going with?
I'm definitely going with Urban Legends.
Urban Legends. All right. A man who I know hates most of these types of posters. He's smiling ear to ear because he knows it's coming to him. John.
I would agree with that assessment. I'm going to give this one to Urban Legend. It does have a little more tone to it. The faculty, I don't know if they're trying to spoof Independence Day, but it looks like they just plastered the cast in front of the shot from Independence Day. But I still don't know if that was on purpose. So for that, I'm going to give it to Urban Legend. It does look creepy and scary and give you a little bit more of a hint of what's going on behind the pictures of all the stupidly attractive actors.
All right. Okay. All right. A man who I think has a deep appreciation of posters and an opinion that I'm waiting for here, Patrick.
The faculty's font is better. Really, it's just the A that puts it over the edge on that. The color grading on that poster isn't really too attractive to me, so I'm going with Urban Legend. As a autograph collector, that poster is really nice because you got like the glass shatter and everything, so you can have everyone sign the appropriate spot. It's a little bit more creative with the eye being broken in the glass and you seeing it. I wish they would have done a little bit more with the Urban Legend idea and play on that trope, but I think Urban Legend, as far as the poster itself, wins it.
Oh, it's been a while. Hi, Leighanne. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, good to kill you, Patrick.
Yeah.
All right, Tony, you're up.
So, yeah, thanks for pointing out the Independence Day part, because I'm looking at the faculty poster, and in the back, it looks like the high school looks like the White House, right? So it's like a mix between Independence Day, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and something else. Like you're waking up in the middle of an operation, all the doctors staring at you. For Urban Legend, there's a kind of giveaway of who the killer is, because the killer has the biggest part of they show more of the killer than they do of the other ones, because the other ones are just headshots. If you take a look at it, you'll know what I mean. But I'm looking at them right now. It's hard to decide. I'll go with the faculty because
So I knew a kill was coming there. but I will. Everybody went right. I will say this: I never picked up on that Independence Day thing either, John. So. Yeah, that was that's pretty brilliant. Yeah,
there's something familiar. Right.
So we are here. We are at the end. But before we end the show, let's discuss the endings of these movies. And for this, we will start off with Sunny.
I'm gonna give it to Urban Legend. I think both endings are good, but I just really think that Rebecca Gayheart goes so hard with it. I think that her motive is great. I think her just acting crazy is so fun to watch. And I didn't really suspect her through the majority of the movie. So it was a fun surprise. And I was just, I don't know, I was so hyped that she sort of lived at that little stinger at the end. And you get to see that she's about to tell her own version of the story, which I would have loved to have seen. But yeah, I don't know, it feels more satisfying to
Yeah.
me. Oh,
That was satisfying.
Oh wow, we finally got Sunny.
my first death.
Nice, but you had stuff to say, so well done. All right, we will go to Patrick.
I got to give it to Urban Legend. I'm a sucker for that cliffhanger tease of a sequel ending, and we got that here. The faculty's fine, but I feel like Urban Legend, it plays on, because there's some lines at the very last little bit where it's like, what if it's basically, where's the twist, which is very much in vein of Scream. So I like that kind of 90s.
You always try and like cut yourself like that's gonna save you.
Patrick's
It
reaction
doesn't,
tonight.
but it's just my reaction. So
Yeah, your reactions are the highlight of the show tonight for sure. All right, Lilith, you're up.
I like the ending better for Urban Legends because, it alluded that there's going to be a sequel. Yay, sequels. And it's just, I really didn't like the ending of The Faculty. It was super cheesy, happy, everybody's dream comes true. The geek gets the popular girl, the outcast just needed sports to be happy. The alt girl just needs to be with the former jock who hated being a jock, like the Breakfast Club. I just really hated The Faculty ending, so I gotta give it to Urban Legends.
Wow, strong opinion. Hate for Faculty's ending. So
I like the rest of it.
all right, no, hey, listen, it's all valid. All right, speaking of a valid opinion, let's go to Tony, who's about to share one, I am sure.
Yeah, the faculty just shows drugs are good, right? They can help save the world somehow. I love it how in movies they can discover what the problem is and then come up with a plan and solution, so quick, right? And even when that comes to aliens from outer space, they can still figure out how to save the world. So for that fact alone, I'm going to have to give it to Urban Legend because I like the just Rebecca Gayhart's final scene. That was great, and the cliffhanger ending as well. You didn't see that coming, did you?
No, what a twist. Always a showman. So we will now go to John.
Yeah, I'm going to give this to The Faculty. Mostly, I like the weird twist on kind of that happily ever after ending where everybody kind of ends up in a different place than where they started. It's not just one person who survives and is traumatized. Like, they all kind of end up in a better place. And they kind of went through a lot to get there. And I like that monster better, so that whole ending sequence is better with them killing it with the bleachers was kind of cool. Urban Legend is a cool ending, but again, it's the exact same ending we've seen 5 times already in the last 2 years since Scream came out. It's the same twist we always see. It's the same, we might do a sequel if the box office is enough. So for that regard, I like The Faculty because it's a little bit more clever.
Wow, there's some hostility in the ends, in the ending categories from a few people. All right, so that is it. That is all the votes are in, and I got to be honest, I really don't know who won. I think this is a pretty close battle, so I'm excited to see what Leighanne tells us. But it's time for the opinion of the match. So many good opinions, but this one was kind of easy once it was said, once it was out of the box. Too cool to be scary by Tony. That is a shirt. That is a slogan. I'm pretty sure you said I could have that. So it's on film. Too cool to be scary wins that one. Congrats, Tony, on that. And Leighanne, are you ready to deliver the winner?
I am.
Right.
I'm sad to say that Lilith and John, you guys made it through the end. You are the final 2. I don't like that, but you did it. And the other ones you guys died, so thank you for that. I appreciate it. It's what I'm here for. Really surprising because there was one category that was swept completely by one film, and that film still lost. And the winning film actually is The Faculty. Urban Legend completely won kills, almost completely won the end, but still lost. So,
Wow. You know what? I think it's fitting that this was a close battle. And I thought all your opinions were great. It's great when you see panelists, like two panelists saying one movie and then two saying the other movie right after, and kind of like hearing that, you're in for a good show. Yeah, and there's always that one category that like kind of tips the balance, but in this case, it didn't constitute as a win for that Urban Legend. Yeah, cool episode, cool 90s episode. Thank you everybody for joining us. I'd like to thank the panel. You guys were awesome, and I can't wait to have you all back. I'd like to thank my killer, my slasher, mi amor, Leighanne. Don't forget to check out past episodes of Horror Face Off on the Horror Slash Network. Also, check out the Horror Face Off Instagram account. We put out some stuff there, including ways that you could be on the show, perhaps. Maybe one day you could be where Tony is right now. But until then, we will see you on the next episode, which will be Saw versus the Terrifier. Until then, see you later.